Sir Keir Starmer not only appointed former Labour leader Ed Miliband as his shadow business secretary earlier this month, but, according to The Sun, he also made him a key member of his inner circle of advisers. He believes Mr. Miliband was ahead of his time when he led Labour to defeat, only to see the Tories rip off some of his most popular policies. Mr. Miliband will be at the heart of all key meetings and return to TV limelight. A party source told the publication, Ed is not just a campaigner, he is also a big political thinker. However, an ex-minister said, it's like asking the manager of a football team that's just been relegated for advice on how to win the Premier League. Mr. Miliband's plans included the national minimum wage, a focus on apprenticeships, a cap on energy bills and, according to a 2015 report by The Telegraph, bringing socialism back to Britain. Standing in a street in Brighton ahead of the Labour Party conference 5 years ago, he claimed David Cameron's government would have stood only for the privileged few. In a question-and-answer session, Mr. Miliband was asked whether he would bring back socialism. He replied, "That's what we are doing, sir." Mr. Miliband detailed a series of policies intended to appeal to Labour voters, including scrapping the bedroom tax, ending zero-hours contracts and opposing the privatization of Royal Mail. He said, "We are going to scrap the bedroom tax, that's what I mean by a government that fights for you. And we are fighting for all of the low-paid people around our country." One of the proudest achievements of the last Labour government was the national minimum wage, making work pay for people. But under David Cameron's government people are falling behind, the national minimum wage now paying people £20 less after inflation than it did when David Cameron came to office. That's just wrong. When we see that happening and when we think about one of the big banks, do we really think they can't afford to pay their cleaners a bit more? He said it was wrong that millions of people were going out to work unable to afford to bring up their families. He added, "The Labour government will put it right, we will strengthen the national minimum wage, we will make work pay for the workers of Britain. That's what I mean by a government that fights for you, abolishing the bedroom tax, strengthening the national minimum wage, childcare there for parents who need it. That's what I mean by tackling the cost of living crisis at this conference, that's what I mean by a government that fights for you." At the time, Mr. Miliband was under intense scrutiny over whether his plans were affordable and whether he was the right man to lead his party. A survey by BBC One's Sunday Politics show found that 3 in 10 Labour councillors believed the party would have stood a better chance of winning the 2015 next general election without Mr. Miliband as leader. While his policies might have proven to be popular in Britain, Sir Keir will unlikely follow his allies' most disastrous idea, engraving his vision on an 8-foot slab of marble. Labour's 2015 election campaign ended up becoming a laughingstock after nearly £8,000 was spent on the Ed Stone. It was much mocked. For example, John Randall, Tony Blair's biographer, described it as the most absurd, ugly, embarrassing, childish, silly, patronising, ridiculous gimmick I have ever seen.